Wide Vancouver. Pre-game, post-game, every game. We're presented by Bodog. JPat and Wadden here with you. Remember, Bodog is your source for free casino games and sports odds. It's time to play at bodog.net. We're going to play, JPat, as it's fantasy draft time here on Rink Wide Vancouver. Now, you might remember last year's fantasy draft.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't go so well for old Wadden over here.
No, so we're kind of breaking the mold. We've got a new format. We'll get into it here because we want this to be competitive past Remembrance Day, which is like 3 weeks from now. Rathbone, last season. So
Got Rathboned.
yeah, you got to wear that one. But I think with this format, and hopefully people have some fun with it as well, this is going to at least guarantee that there'll be some intrigue well into the late stages of the regular season for the Vancouver Canucks.
Okay, so this is how we're going to break it down, because essentially last year, Quinn Hughes sort of threw the whole thing in a flux because of the fact that he was just that much better than everyone else. And mind you, so was JT Miller. So we're going to take the top 3 scorers from the Canucks, JT Miller, Quinn Hughes, and Elias Pettersson from last year, and we're going to break them up. First half, second half scoring. Now, we flipped a coin before we started recording here. You won the coin flip. So therefore, you will get to pick first. So whether you want Elias Pettersson's first half, perhaps his second half, and vice versa as we go through Quinn Hughes and JT Miller as well. Let's take a look now, though, at last year's stats for each individual player. Let's start with JT Miller. 80 games played, 99 points, 39 games played at home, 50 points, 41 games played away, 49 points. He had a first half split of 39 to second half, 60 points for JT Miller. So as you can see, he really got the Bruce bump in the second half of the season.
Yeah. And last year was a screwy year, obviously. If this draft had happened last year, and the slow start for Elias Pettersson, as you said, Miller was fairly consistent, but then absolutely caught fire in the second half. And of course, there was a coaching change. We're not anticipating that that's going to happen, but hey, we'll see how the season plays out. But we thought that we would just take these 3 guys, and obviously Elias Pettersson, the second half that he had last year. Yeah, you would have liked to have had EP40 in games 42 to 82 last year because he looked the part of a superstar, where in that first half, hard to find on a lot of nights and just not many points. So I think it's going to be fun. I think there is some strategy involved here. And I think Quinn Hughes, fairly consistent as the season went along last year, although obviously the team was much better in the second half than it was in the first half of the schedule.
Now, we got a little twist to this as well. We are each going to pick an individual player that we have to hold on to for the rest of the season outside of those 3 names that we're going to flip-flop throughout the year through their first and second halves. Thatcher Demko, though, is in this, JPat. We are going to take his wins, times it by 2. So last year, 33 wins for Thatcher Demko would have been 66 points, which would have had him 4th in the team in scoring.
Yeah, and that's an interesting wrinkle because he's going to play. He's going to play a lot. The team thinks that it's going to have success. He should be in net for the bulk of the victories, and I kind of have him pigeonholed for around 35. So that would be 70 points. And then the question is any other skater outside of those big 3 that we're going to split up, is anybody going to reach 70 points? And that is something to think about and consider as the Canucks think that they have improved their offense, certainly bolstered the forward ranks this season. And so, it's funny. You look at a guy like Bo Horvat last year, finished with 31 goals, but not a lot of assists. In fact, he and Connor Garland were tied in points. And that's something that kind of gets overlooked. I think a lot of people looked at Garland's first season as a little bit of a disappointment, and everybody raved about Bo Horvat and the goal-scoring prowess. But ultimately, when you add it all up, and that's how this pool at least is for these players that we keep, it's their season totals. So, does Brock Besser, now that he's got the contract out of the way, does he catch fire and have a big season? These are all things that I'm going to have to consider here. Because, yes, I did win the coin toss, and so I'm going to be on the clock here very soon.
All right. You also got to consider Andrei Kuzmenko, what kind of season he could have. Hey, what's Vasily Podkolzin going to do this year in his sophomore year? Now, to give you a reference, it's 41 and 41, so that's how we're going to split it, like an NHL season, 82 games played. Game 41 is January 12th at Tampa Bay. So 19 home games, 22 road games in the first half, and then it flips the other way in the second half. JPat, you are on the clock. Who are you taking, and will it be their first or their second half as the first overall pick?
Yeah, so this is wild, and obviously a lot of it's going to depend on luck and health, but some of the strategy that goes into this, if you would tell me that I could take the first halves of all three of these guys and then just deliver them to you after that game in Tampa, I think I would say if I could get full health and get 41 games out of each of them, I would gladly turn them over to you. In a contact sport, there are going to be some games missed. It's just the way that it goes, and so you can't predict it, obviously. But you look at Elias Pettersson, the way that he showed up at training camp here and looked pretty good against the Oilers, opened the scoring, even though they lost. He looks ready from day one. And so you think, all right, is that the gamble here? First half Elias Pettersson picking up where he left off. But then I started to look at the way the schedule plays out. The second half, there's a league-mandated week off. So if they've got some bumps and bruises, there's a week off in there to rest up. There's also the trade deadline to keep in mind here, because after the deadline, they play Arizona and Chicago and Seattle and some of these teams that are likely to clear house and trade off assets and just be, there for the picking, basically late in the season in the second half. So certainly there are some things to consider, but with the first pick in the 2022-2023 Rink Wide Podcast Fantasy Draft, I'm just not sure that there's another skater that's going to reach 70 points for the Vancouver Canucks. So I'm banking on Thatcher Demko posting victories, playing a lot, winning a lot. I'm going to take Thatcher Demko as my full season selection in this fantasy draft.
This is like Slavkovsky going first overall over Shane Wright.
You didn't see it coming.
I do like the strategy. I have to say that if you think Thatcher Demko can get 35 wins at 70 points, Bo Horvat never reached 70 points before. Brock Besser never reached 70 points before. Connor Garland never reached 70 points. And of course, we know Andrei Kuzmenko and Vasily Podkolzin have never reached it either. Great pick, first overall, Thatcher Demko. I love it, JPat. So therefore, JPat owns Thatcher Demko for the rest of the season. With the second pick overall, I am going to go and take some of the information that you just gave me in terms of the second half, and I am going to steal that, and I am going to take JT Miller's second half of the season with the second overall pick. As we saw last year, 60 points in the second half, and he was full health in the second half, played all 41 games. JT Miller, the second pick of the Rink Wide Fantasy Draft. All right, JPat, you're on the clock.
Okay. Yeah.
What do you got now? You got your guy that you're keeping their entire year out of the way now. All right.
Yeah. And JT Miller's been durable, and so we'll see if he gets to that second half and is able to give you a full allotment of games. I guess for the reasons that I just laid out there, I think Elias Pettersson shows that he means business and just looks dialed in. I'm going to grab the goal that he scored and whatever gravy he can give me for the remaining 40 games here in the first half of the season. I think he's going to set the tone and the pace for the Vancouver Canucks, so I'll take first half EP40.
All right. I am going to take second half Quinn Hughes. And again, I love all that information you gave me. In fact, I didn't even think about a lot of it. So I am stealing it. You did my homework. And of course, as I got through high school, somebody else did the work for me. So therefore, I am taking second half Quinn Hughes with my second pick.
All right. Well, I do know that looking at the schedule, the Canucks have more back-to-backs in the second half than they do in the first half. So wear and tear and fatigue, and then more back-to-backs. Hope your guys hit the wall. All right. I'll take first half Quinn Hughes.
First half Quinn Hughes for you. And then, of course, that just leaves me with first half Elias Pettersson.
No, I've got first half Elias Pettersson.
Excuse me. Second half Elias Pettersson now for myself. I also have to make my pick that I'm going to keep. Now, where do I go here, JPat? Do I go?
You want me to make your pick for you? Forget it.
Well, maybe you might give me a little bit of information here if I sort of
giving you enough information.
Dig into you. Do I take Bo Horvat with those 30-something goals? I mean, he's got to improve on that assist totals, right? Or do I take Andrei Kuzmenko, who looks like perhaps he might lead all rookies in scoring this year? Of course, he's eligible for the Calder Trophy. Or do I think Vasily Podkolzin really has a breakout season this year? I'm going chalky. I'm going with the captain. Bo Horvat will be my standalone player that I get to keep for the season. All right. let's run it down then. What do you got? What do I got?
Well, if I did my accounting correctly here, I've got Thatcher Demko and I've got the first half for all the players. So you can kind of put your feet up, watch Bo Horvat, hope that he has a decent run all season long, but you could go on vacation for, well, no, you can't because we've got to record podcasts here, but you don't really, your clock doesn't start clicking and ticking until
January 13th. 42.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Second half for me. And then, of course, we'll keep an eye on Horvat versus Demko. Love to hear.
So fingers crossed for good health here between now and mid-January. That's and Thatcher Demko, you just got to win a bunch of games, man.
Yes, you're right. Full health after January 12th. You're absolutely right. That's what you said, right? Oh, that's what I thought I heard you say. All right, we'd love to hear in the comments, who do you got? Who do you think's going to have a breakout year here for the Canucks, or who would you take first or second half out of the top 3
And what would your strategy? What would your key strategy points have been if you had been a part of this thing?
Would love to hear from you. Leave it in the comment section below. And listen, looks like we're going to have a better fantasy draft this year because, boy, did I take an ass kicking last year, JPat.
Well, yeah, and as I said, I mean, we wanted to go beyond Remembrance Day, so at least this year, like in January, you'll have something to look forward to because this thing was done and dusted, and of course, the most important part in all of this is the wager. We on for 50? Is that the...
Yes. And is it to charity of choice?
Yeah.
All right. We shake on it.
There you go. Yes.
There we go.